Welcome to Whiskey's a Journey. My name is Peter Faciano. Today's Monday. I got another whiskey review coming at you. In fact, this is actually coming out on St. Patrick's Day. So happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. I've got Redbreast 18. This is a single pot still Irish whiskey, 18 years of age. Let's go ahead and pour it, nose it, taste it, talk about it a little bit, add some water to it, and then if you stick around until the very end, I'm going to give it a score. Let me go ahead and finish the stats. So this is an 18-year, 46% ABV Irish single pot still whiskey. The maturation on this is going away from the typical Redbreast. It is the ex-bourbon along with the sherry. That's kind of their normal standard maturation. In addition to that, they also have ruby port casks along with creamed sherry. And I'll get to the creamed sherry here in a little bit when I start talking about this. It's still a 750 milliliter bottle. It was coming in pretty expensive. It's $249, basically $250. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, and that was without tax. Recently, recently, that's a relative term, but within the last year, I've started to pick up some sulfur notes out of Redbreast or some spot whiskeys. That usually dissipates after a while. And I don't really think I'm picking that up at all in here. So this is a sulfur-free, according to my nose. Looking at it, sticking to the side of the glass, looks pretty viscous. Typically, I'm not the biggest port matured or port finished whiskey fan, but I really do like ex-bourbon and sherry. So those things are right up my alley. Smells a little bit oaky, has a little bit of an acetone note, and that vanilla is really strong. I'm inclined to say it smells like a finished bourbon. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing on the palate. Oh man, that really has a silky mouthfeel. Right up front on the arrival, it's a blast of red fruit and vanilla sweetness. It hits a little bit peppery mid-palate. That oak kind of sinks down underneath the tongue, glides back to the back of the palate. Oak sweetness elevates, spice elevates, and the sweetness settles in rather nice. I've had this a couple of times, was not really that impressed with it. Maybe with the air that's getting to it, it's opened up a little bit, and I like this much more now than I have in the past. That was my very first sip, and based on that sip, there's a good amount of oak, and I think that rye spice along with the sweetness is a good balance. And again, that silky feeling, that mouth feeling, it coats every inch, every area of the mouth. I like that quite a bit. So let's go ahead and get that second sip in, add some water, talk about it a little bit. Yeah, that acetone note on the nose is not coming through on the palate at all. So second sip, everybody. Yeah, there is a buttery, silky texture. The sweetness, now it's turning a little bit effervescent on the tongue. There's more oak, more spice, more sweetness. Everything on that second sip is elevated quite a bit. 46% ABV. It's not blowing out my palate, that's for sure. But all of those sweet and spicy, oaky notes are really playing well together. I'm not getting very much red fruit. I know this is sherry cask matured with the Oloroso and the creamed sherry, along with the port, but I'm not getting a huge blast of what I would imagine would be red fruits. I think the ex-bourbon barrel is up front and center with the dominant note, with the vanilla. And of course, being 18 years of age, that oak is there as well. It's going to be interesting to see what the water does to this. So a little bit about Redbreast 18. This was not part of their core lineup, and I do believe that they were introducing this to the market, and it's going to be a normal release within their lineup. The 12, the cast strength 12, the 15, the 21, the 27, the 18. Did I miss anything? I don't think I missed anything. And they added it to their lineup, I do believe, in 2024. If I'm wrong about those dates, let me know in the comments down below. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, the normal, well, I don't want to say normal because they are starting to branch out a little bit, but their cask maturation is typically ex-bourbon and sherry. They have two more put into this one, the creamed sherry and the ruby port. Now, cream sherry, I had to look it up, but I mentioned this before in some of my previous videos. To my understanding, the best of my understanding, a creamed sherry is simply just a combination of Oloroso sherry and Pedro Jimenez sherry. They marry it into a barrel and they let it age or oxidize in that barrel. And then they're using that barrel as part of the maturation of the 18. I'm not sure of the percentages of the ex-bourbon, the sherry, the ruby port, and the creamed sherry. I don't know if that information is even out there, but if you do know, post it in the comments below. Now, as stated before, I'm not the biggest fan of ruby port. I've done a couple of blinds with ruby port finished whiskeys. I believe the 27 and the 18 of Redbreast have ruby port, just haven't been a fan. But let's take a look at the creamed sherry component. Based on their website, or based on some of the information I looked at, they're saying that the creamed sherry is going to impart some dark chocolate, black currants. Honestly, I don't really know what black currants are. I don't think I've ever had that. And then hazelnut. I can see the dark chocolate, but not knowing what a black currant is. And I've had hazelnuts, but I'm not picking that up. But the one note that I would say is in here is the dark chocolate. And I think that goes hand in hand with the vanilla. So you get the vanilla, dark chocolate, you get the pot still spice, you get the oak from the 18 years, but I'm still missing that red fruit component of the sherry, the creamed sherry, and the ruby port. This drink's more like a bourbon than it does an Irish whiskey. And I'm not exactly positive if I am kind of keen on that idea, because there's a reason why I'm attracted to the Redbreast, and it's because of their ex-bourbon and sherry cask maturation. This departs from that. But if you're not innovating, you're becoming pretty stale. So I can't argue with them for doing this. All right, hopefully that had enough time for the water to do its thing. And there's definitely more vanilla. That acetone note has gone away, and I'm left with vanilla oak. Slight amount of spice, not a whole lot, which is contrary to some of the whiskeys that I've done before. While adding water, it brings out a ton of spice. I'm not getting that here. It's pretty soft on the nose, and it's dominated by oak and vanilla. Again, minus all of those red fruit notes. I'm really struggling to pick anything up from that. It just smells like a finished bourbon. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing on the palate again. Yeah, the mouthfeel is completely killed with the water. I no longer have that silky viscosity. I don't have the saturation of flavors underneath the tongue. The oak has disappeared. It is spicy, and the sweetness is dulled. Going forward, me personally, I would not add water to this. I would just drink it at 46% the way it's bottled. All right, so the only thing left to do is get on to the score. If you're new here, I rate everything out of 5 stars. This has not worn on me, it has grown on me a little bit from the first time I've had it. I expected not to like this going into the video. I'm pleasantly surprised with it. I don't like how it acts with water, so I'm going to be giving this score at the 46% bottling strength. And based on everything that I've gotten, minus the red fruit, which I was kind of hoping was there, but in retrospect, not liking the ruby port, I'm kind of glad that that note isn't there. Creamed sherry, I don't know if I'm getting it or not. Maybe a little bit of chocolate, but that's about it. So I am going to put this bottle at a 3.85. It's good, but it's not going to be my favorite within the Redbreast lineup. Where are you at with the brand? If you are familiar with the different series that they have, just their core range, the 12 to 12 cask strength, the 15, the 21, the 18, the 27. Do you gravitate towards those? Or are you an Iberian series, the Lestau, the PX, and the Ruby Port? Or I believe their newest line, which is the American Wood series. And I think they have Kentucky Oak and Missouri Oak up to this point. Which one do you like the most? Or do you shy away from Irish whiskeys in general? That's where I'm going to leave it. So wherever you're at in your journey, I hope you're enjoying it. And we'll talk to everybody later. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Cheers. Talk to everybody on Wednesday.